Now, let me say this. Before we begin this problem on conversions between pH, POH, and hydronium and hydroxide ion concentrations, let me say this. That the curve on the solutions test, and I do it every year, this year I'm doing it a little bit differently. I am predicating the curve on how well you do on the acids test. So it will be a customized curve. The whole class isn't getting a curve just because you're a warm body in chemistry. It will be dependent solely and specifically on how well you do on the acids test. Clear? Okay, so this is the curve. This is the minimum curve. This is what I'll do. If you get greater than or equal to 70 raw points on the acid-base test, I will add 15 points. Don't whoa yet, because it's not as easy as it sounds when I had a lot of students getting 24 points on the solutions test. 75, 20 points. Sorry, 80, sorry. 80. 90, you're going to get 25 points, and 100, greater than 100, you get 30 points. Now those are raw points. So in other words, out of 300, that will turn into 90 points. That's a serious amount of weighted points. Clear? Sounds generous. Sounds generous. Sounds easy, doesn't it? It's not as generous or as easy as it sounds. If you don't look at the lecture online, if you don't do the worksheet I'm giving you today, if you don't do the suggested problems, if you don't participate in class and ask questions, if you don't periodically, at least periodically, come after lunch or something to ask questions, it's not going to happen. If you're not going to take an active role, it will not happen. And just to let you know, for those of you who are taking IB, there's not a person in here who shouldn't take IB. For those of you who are taking IB, the IB teacher this year, Dr. Fryer, began the year with titrations, which is acid-base chemistry. So if you don't know this, and you can do this, I'm not going to teach an average student something that they can't do. That's not how I teach. Ask yourself, am I at least average? If you're at least average and you do the standard amount of work, you can do this. If you're not average or below average, then you have to say to yourself, okay, so I have to put in a little bit more study time than I normally would. But everybody can do this. Some people don't have to work nearly as hard as others. I have students in here who will spend half the amount of time as some of you. But everyone can do this. Clear? Okay. So let's do this. Now, we're working with hydroxide. So if I'm finding the concentration of hydroxide, I find the concentration of hydroxide by finding the pOH first, right? So I know the pH plus the pOH is going to equal 14. So right away I can say, remind me in about 4 minutes, okay? Right away I can say that the pOH and the pH equals 14. Clear? Yes or no? Okay? Now, I'm going to write a couple of more equations on the board. And I'll say the negative log of the OH concentration is going to equal the pOH. Correct? And I'm also going to say that the concentration of the OH is going to equal 10 to the negative pOH. Clear? So this is what I want you to do. Where you see a pH, I want you to determine the OH concentration. Clear? Yes? And where you see an OH, I want you to do the POH. So every one here is going to be 2 steps. Clear? Yes or no? Now there are other ways of doing this. For instance, I could say, I know that the product of the H plus and the OH molar ions equals 1 times 10 to the negative 14. So I could say that 1 times 10 to the negative 14 divided by that is going to be my H ion concentration. Then I could take the pH of that. I can find the pH of that. Clear? However you want to do it, just get it done. And then we'll come back. So I'm going to try to make these in 2 parts. I'm going to try to get through at least 4 problems. Clear? So let's see if we can do this right now, and we'll come back, okay?